Okay, guys, welcome back. Now, I wasn't going to do this. I didn't think I was going to talk about this case at all, but it's getting bigger and worse, and it's getting some global attention. A lot of people that watch this YouTube channel are not just from the United States. I have people from all over the world, and thank you so much for tuning in and watching some of the stuff that I talk about. Normally, it's pretty tame, fatherly advice, pouring back into some young people. Today, I'm not really taking the advice position. I'm taking the opinion position. Everybody's given their opinion on this George Floyd case, and I thought that I would do the same. Probably not a great idea. Some people should just shut up about it because it's not their thing, but I've got this channel. Got people all over the world. I'm sure you're getting news bits, so I'll just be another person sharing an opinion. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. Opinions are never right or wrong. Actually, they're just an opinion. That's just what they are. They're somebody's opinion. It could be right or could be wrong. I don't know. So don't fault me on that. So let's dive in, and this is completely unscripted. I'm just going to speak from my heart. Number one, George Floyd's death was ridiculous. It was disgusting. It was evil. The cops involved with his apprehension and holding him down, pinning him down with a knee on the neck as he pled, "I can't breathe," is disgusting, evil police brutality. There is no other way around it. It really doesn't matter. Some videos that you see on social media are the last 2 minutes of an hour-long pursuit where the cops are just so ticked off and their adrenaline is racing. They finally catch the person and they beat them senseless because they've had an hour, 2 hours, 3-hour pursuit building it up. This was not the case. It doesn't seem to be the case at all. Now, I know the case hasn't been tried yet, and I know there's other facts that may come out, but nobody's contesting the fact that he was handcuffed. Mr. Floyd was subdued. He was laying on his stomach, and the cop decided to place his knee directly on his neck for 8 minutes while the other cops just watched and went on with whatever they needed to do for that arrest, for that scene, not ever tapping the guy on the shoulder saying, "Hey, dude, get your knee off of him. Get off the guy. He can't breathe. We've got him handcuffed. He's down. He's subdued. He's captured. We have him. He's not fighting back." Nobody said it. So my first thought is, yes, that was police brutality at its grossest form. And these men should be held accountable and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Get that off the table. That's my number one. Number two, everybody around the world, not just in Minneapolis, not just in the United States, everybody around the world who sees that story, hears that story, should be disgusted, outraged, inflamed. They should gather. They should protest. They should bring attention to police brutality. They should be all over this, trying to get their leaders to understand, their police forces to understand, their chiefs, their mayors, their governors in their state should get their attention and say, hey, this has to stop. We've got to put an end to this. So in America, yeah, we've got the right to peacefully gather and state our causes, state our means, state our beliefs, air our grievances. We've got the right to peacefully gather and do that with our signs, with our voices, with our fists, with our actions, with our chants, right? And I don't mean fist as in hitting somebody. I mean fist as in waving them in the air with disgust and outrage and passion. We've got the right to do that. But I say those two things off the bat. Number one, the whole thing was disgusting. Mr. Floyd died a senseless death. He should not be dead right now. He probably shouldn't even be arrested. It was the assumption that he's thinking, used a counterfeit $20 bill. Give me a break. That was his crime for that type of punishment, that level of brutality. Number one, okay, don't get me back on that. Number two, yes, we have the right to gather. Yes, we should be outraged. Yes, we should be forming and gathering and protesting, things like that, to get people's attention and draw it to their attention. So I say those two things right off the bat. That's it, right off the bat. Now let's dive deeper. Here's where my opinion comes in. And it's very hard for me as a white person to understand some of the things. So forgive me because I'm looking through the lens of a white guy. Let's just state that right off the bat. I can't feel what black people feel. I can't feel what any other color, I can't feel what girls feel because I'm a guy. I can't feel what kids feel because I'm an adult. I can't feel what elderly people feel because I'm middle-aged. I can't feel what black people feel. I'm a white guy. But I don't understand why cases like this get so much attention. All this disturbance, all this going on, when there's death all the time, there's brutality all the time. I don't understand it. In Chicago alone, an average of 30 black people are murdered every month. That's one a day. One a day, a black person is senselessly murdered. Don't hear much about it. It's not just white on black crime. There's white on white crime. There's black on black crime. The Chicago, for instance, is black on black. We hear the chant, we hear the banner, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, all lives matter, according to God. All lives matter. But Black Lives Matter. Okay, it's them, it's their people, it's their culture. That's cool. Stand up. Stand up for what you believe. Black Lives Matter. But why do some matter more than others? Yeah, Mr. Floyd died a senseless, brutal, ridiculously disgusting death. But what about all the other black people that die? And I ask this as a white guy, as a dumb white guy. Forgive me, please forgive me for asking this question. Why do some black lives matter more than others? Why do black lives matter more when a white person kills them? Why? I don't understand that. I don't understand it at all. And then let's take just for instance, just the flip. Just a week before this news came out, a young black man in a nursing home, which is another story about COVID, the whole COVID virus and how they were putting sick people in nursing homes. This is a 20-year-old man with COVID placed into a nursing home. Why? Don't get me derailed on that subject. But he was in there and had a roommate, a 75-year-old roommate. And guess what was caught on camera? The 20-year-old man pounding the crap out of the elderly man. Why? Senseless. Evil. Why? It doesn't matter what that old man did, unless he was coming at him with a knife. Why would you beat up a 75-year-old elderly man in a nursing home? Just before that, there was a man in California, killed 3 white people. Black guy in California killed 3 white people. Why? Because they were white. He said, I randomly found 3 white people to kill. Why? Because he was sick of racism. So he randomly finds 3 white people to kill. Don't hear much about that. Don't hear a lot about it at all. So there's death everywhere. There's white on black, there's black on white, there's black on black, there's all this. Asians, Mexicans, Browns, all this goes on. I don't understand why some of them make it to national news and some of them don't. Now, number 2, the rioting. It's not protesting what's happening right now. It's rioting. How in God's name does breaking in and destroying small businesses in the community, these are people in the community. Why would you destroy their lives, their livelihood, their small business? Burn it, bust the windows out, loot it, steal everything. What does that have to do with Mr. Floyd's death? Do you think Mr. Floyd would say, yeah, go get him, go steal that stuff? No. Protests like these are supposed to be in grievance, with heavy hearts. You see the videos of the looters, they're laughing as they're parading and dancing around with these items that they're stealing and throwing rocks and lighting things on fire. It's way out of control. That's not what should be happening in a protest. And please, don't hear any words that I'm not saying. This is already controversial enough. Don't hear things that I'm not saying. There are good people who are protesting the right way. There's good people who are hurting, who are suffering, who are devastated, who want their voices to be heard, who want to peacefully gather. There's a large percentage, a large amount of people, large crowds of people who are doing this the right way. So when I'm talking about these protests that are happening right now that have turned into riots, I'm not saying everybody. I'm not saying a color of people are responsible. We know who's responsible. It's Antifa and thugs. That's what it is. You've got good people who are hurting and wanting to peacefully gather and let their voices be heard and voice their frustrations and make change and bring about change and do it the right way. Then you've got thugs and you've got Antifa in the mix of that. Totally opportunists looking for opportunities to devastate and destroy. They're just looking for opportunities. And this is the next opportunity that came along, the next train that came down the track that they could jump onto to cause devastation and destroy things. So don't hear things that I'm not saying. Yeah, there are a lot of people doing this the right way, and I'm grateful for that. Just another little side note. We've got enough racism and anger and hurt in this world. We don't need to make up stuff. Right? We don't need to make up stuff. Let me tell you just a quick little story. And this sucks. I live in Atlanta. The people are down there protesting. Atlanta has a curfew 9 o'clock at night. You got to be done. Hey, that's it. Anything past that is just not going to be good. So you can gather, you can peacefully gather, you can demonstrate, you can protest up until 9 o'clock, then you got to go. Well, Saturday night, this past Saturday night, 2 young black people, guy and a girl, coming back from their day, coming back to college. They go to 2 different black colleges in Atlanta. They're just coming back, but it's after curfew. So they're driving through Atlanta after curfew, trying to get back to college. They get stopped. The cops bust out their window, taser them, and pursue an arrest of them, seemingly violent. So I hear the news story, and here we go. It's like, good gosh. How much police brutality can happen? How much racism can possibly happen? So I listened to the lawyers speak. The lawyers for these 2 people are speaking on the radio, telling their story. They're talking about white supremacy has gone on long enough. This brutality has got to stop. This is a war. It's a war of our minds. It's a war on the streets. It's a war on culture. I hear this passionate speech and I'm thinking, I'm so embarrassed. It's just sickening. But then I hear the rest of the story. It's caught on video. These 2 people, boy and a girl, going back to college after their day, after curfew, were asked to stop. They didn't stop. They kept rolling. The cops are pursuing them. Hey, stop. We need to see what you're up to. Don't stop. So the cop busts out the window to get control of the car, to get control of the driver, to stop the car. Little side note. The 2 cops were fired immediately, but they were black. They're black cops. So where's the racism in this? Where's the storyline that they're trying to piggyback on? They're trying to piggyback on this disgusting story about George Floyd, Mr. George Floyd. They're trying to piggyback on that and keep this narrative going. We don't need to make up stories. It's bad enough. So let's stop making up stories and let's stick with the facts. Let's stick with the case at hand. Let's get this cop in Minneapolis and these other 3 cops in Minneapolis arrested and punished for what they did. So yeah, I say those 2 big things right off the bat. His death was senseless and it was brutality in its ugliest form. Yes, we have the right to protest and gather. My thoughts on number 1 are, why do some lives matter more than others? Why don't we talk about evil in general? Why don't we talk about all that goes on? Every color on color. Why even mention color? Let's just talk about the evil, the death that happens in our country and around the world. Why can't we just be kind, love one another, treat everybody with respect? And then my thoughts as I'm unpacking number 2, the right to gather. Yeah, there's a right to gather, but you don't have a right to destroy other people's property and break laws. 2 wrongs do not make a right. I get it, you're upset. I get it, you've got every right to be upset. But you don't have every right to attack people who have nothing to do with the crime. Okay, if you want to go to the police, if you want to go there and protest on the steps to the police department who was responsible for this whole thing, fine, do it. Go to the mayor, go to the courthouse, talk to the leaders, figure this out, get in their way, figure it all out and let your voice be heard that this doesn't make any sense. But let me tell you, everybody's talking about what's wrong, right? So yeah, it was wrong, the whole brutality and the death, senseless death of Mr. Floyd, wrong. Then the rioting and all this, wrong. And they say, why don't you talk about how to fix it? You know why? Because you can't. You can't fix it. You won't fix it. There's too many people. There's too much evil in the world to fix evil. You can't fix it. It doesn't matter what law you put in place. It doesn't matter what hate crime you put in place, what punishment you put in place. You will always have bad cops. You'll have bad white ones, bad black ones, bad yellow ones, bad brown ones, bad red ones. Whatever color people come in, you're going to have bad cops. You're going to have bad everything. Workers in general. In just any industry in the world, there's bad people. In families, there's bad people. In colleges, there's bad people. Communities, bad people. Everywhere you look, there's bad people. You can't get rid of it. There is no solution. So when you talk about why aren't people talking about solutions to this? Why? There isn't any. The solution is not that you're going to roll over and accept it, but in this form where it's a police brutality, you have to let justice play out. Now, if these 4 people, I think it was 4 guys, if it's totally ignored and nothing ever happens, absolutely. Let's get ugly in protest. Not stealing and looting and breaking windows. I mean ugly as in a big gathering of people with big voices and disruption in government, not in business. What does disrupting business have anything to do with justice? disrupt law enforcement, disrupt the courtrooms. Let them hear your voice. But you have to let justice take its course. In America, no matter how guilty you are, everybody, all of us are innocent till proven guilty. We get our day in court. If the day in court comes and the verdict is not the way it's supposed to be, clearly not the way it's supposed to be, yeah, voices upset, people get, really hot. Right now, people are rioting and acting crazy when the trial hasn't even happened. And it's not that quick. The justice system just doesn't work like that. You can't have that event happen, arrest them, and put them in front of the court the next day. It doesn't happen like that. Now, with voices and the disturbance, it's probably going to happen quicker than it normally would getting into the docket of the court cycle, which is a good thing. But it didn't take all of this to make it any quicker. So I just share my thoughts on this. The two big thoughts, the obvious. It was wrong. Mr. Floyd died a senseless death. Protesting is good. We should all be angered. But man, when you start unpacking those things, I'm really confused. I'm very confused as to why some lives matter more than others. Why don't we get upset at all evil? Why don't we get upset every time somebody senselessly dies? Why don't we fight that? Why don't we fight evil in general? And overall, in this country, we've come a long way. I was born and raised in the South. And from what I saw racism-wise as a kid growing up versus now is unbelievable. With all the martyrs like Martin Luther King Jr., who peacefully never rioted, never looted, never stole, never burnt, never broke windows, didn't do any of that stuff. He didn't have to because he did it the right way. But all the martyrs like him who fought for equal rights. Right now in the South, when you go out, when I go out in my daily, when I go out into stores and I go out into public, just in my friend circles, and it's mixture. It's all colors in my friend circle. I just don't hear it. I don't see color. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm alone. Maybe I'm ignorant. Maybe I'm naive. But I try to apply Dr. Martin Luther King's words. Character matters, not color. See my character. Don't see my color. But now it's like everybody wants you to see color. Stand out. Look at me, my color, my culture, me, my color. Why can't we just be people? Why can't we just be people and be good people and based on character? And that's what gets you places. Why? And again, I'm looking through the filter of a white guy. Maybe there's an answer. Maybe black people watching this are screaming at the video right now saying, you don't know nothing. And maybe that's true. Maybe I don't know nothing. I'm just sharing my thoughts through my filter, through my life experience, asking questions. But I do know that there's not really a solution to this. It's going to happen over and over and over again in every color, every gender, every business, every organization, every level of government, because we have bad people. We live in a fallen world, and there's bad people that live in it, of all colors, all nationalities, all over the world. Not an American thing, all over the world. We have bad people, so bad things are going to happen. But when they do, there's right ways to handle that and bring attention to it. And there's wrong ways. And right now, unfortunately, all this crap that's going on right now, there was a Dallas store owner just trying to protect his store because he's a small business owner. It's his livelihood. It's his life. Guess what? He gets taken over by a mob, senselessly stoned and beaten and kicked, left to bleed and die right there while people are climbing over him, laughing and chanting, stealing out of his store. Because they're grieving Mr. Floyd? I don't think so. As they kicked him, they're yelling, F white people. In the name of Mr. Floyd? In the name of Dr. Martin Luther King? I don't think so. That's not what it's about. Hate and vengeance and violence and thievery does not solve problems. It's ridiculous, in my opinion. Sorry to talk about such a heavy subject, but that's what's happening this week in my world. And I wanted to share some thoughts with you. Hope some of them made sense. Hope I didn't ramble too long. So there's my thoughts on that subject. Sorry it's such a heavy subject, but it's what's happening in our world right now. And if you're not in America, you're probably only catching this on CNN, which is such a biased network. But now you know kind of what's happening in the other side from a simple white guy in the United States. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.